as long as we're not destroying the intent of his music. He was pretty thorough in what he wrote, but I think it's pretty hard to. Let's see here. Pushing forward here. For those of you guys in conducting, I love this at the bottom of page 8. Casals' gestures when conducting were never rigid or mechanical. They went with the musical phrase and had a natural line of duty, which no school of conducting can teach. To which I say, well, I know what he meant. It's more than floors, doors, walls, ceiling. He was able to break all the constraints and the norms of the rules of conducting and say, he wasn't concerned with floors, doors, walls, ceiling, cue. He was concerned with the shape of the music. And that's the essence of real conducting. Page 11, bottom there, to play frankly is not to eschew subtlety and refinement. It is to play where the music so demands forthrightly, without sentimentality, to state what we feel unashamedly and unhesitantly. If you look at the examples before there, he's talking about phrase endings, and to not overlook the importance of starts and finishes. That the dramatic nature of a piano still has to be heard. You can't make it so soft that it's not heard. Okay. So in chapter 2, he has a number of great things. Mozart says on page 17, and this is the father, Mozart, every care must be taken to find and to render the effect which the composer wished to have brought out. Isn't that what we just said? Know the composer, be the composer's advocate. Indeed, one must know how to change from soft to loud without directions, and of one's own accord, each at the right time. In other words, we have to know where to apply these things. So even back in that time, they're talking about interpretation. How are they talking about it? Well, you just got to know. You got to know when it's right. How do I know? Well, you'll know. You'll know when you experience it. Yes, but how? Where? And that's what I hope this interpretation course brings out to you. Where are those places where you can do these things? Do you guys know George Thurman's or James Thurman's James Thurman's book, Note Grouping?
No.
If you don't know James Thurman's book, Note Grouping, it was a dissertation. I'll bring it in tomorrow to class and you can get the information from it. It's a wonderful book on the importance of note groups. How, rather than looking note by note by note, chord by chord by chord, to look at slightly bigger pictures, not phrases, but note groups, to see where they ultimately are leading you or pulling you away from. It can get a little mechanical in its interpretation, but it's a great book I think every musician should read, Note Grouping. So I'll make sure that I bring that tomorrow for you guys. Casals goes on page 19, this is the first full paragraph. Nature is permeated with an unceasing ebb and flow, manifest in the change of the seasons, the alternation of day and night, the movement of the tides. Perpetual oscillation is at the core of biological life, the beating of our hearts, the rhythm of our breathing. Nor are these fluctuations restricted to physical phenomena. Our thoughts, fantasies, emotions, dreams flow in waves, expanding to varying points of culmination before subsiding. Nature never stays at one level, Casals reflected. There is a constant vibration. So think about how that applies to music. What is the nature, the ebb and flow of the music? And how do you bring that out to the audience? How does that change dynamics and tempo and articulations, all those things that we've been talking about? Okay, jumping way ahead to page 24. These are just some things that I've highlighted that I think are important. He's referring here in the quoted section from Lotte Lehmann. This gentleman, Lehmann, was very similar to Casals. They talked about the spiritual atmosphere of musical composition, but in terms of their fundamental approach to phrasing. It almost seems, this is Layman saying this, it almost seems superfluous to say, never forget that a phrase must always have a main word, and with it a musical high point. Yet it's incredible how often this elementary and self-evident fact is neglected. Again and again, I'm astonished anew by the lack of musical feeling for the essential nature of the phrase. Singing should never be just a straight going ahead. It should have a sweeping flow. It should glide in soft, rhythmical waves which follow one another harmoniously. Casal says somewhat of the same thing. He refers to musical rainbows. There are all these colors and shifts in every phrase. And what we lose is the attention to detail in our phrases. We keep going at music and we play through music. We don't think about it. We don't conceptualize it enough, even at the phrase level, to build our stories, to build our movies, to bring that out to the audience and the player. First to the player, of course, so that they can bring it to the audience. You know, so I think there are just real great pearls of wisdom that come from Casal's. Page 27, he's referring to example 32. The crescendo within the long note provides growing weight which supports the melodic arch. You really have to play these examples, you know, to understand them. But lacking this, we just have another case, and this is what I love, poor pen and paper music. That's where you play all the right notes and all the right rhythms, but you make no music at all. All you're doing is playing what's on the page, and you haven't enlivened it. Anyway, I think we're going to stop there for today. Please continue to read Casals as much as you can. Bring your instruments tomorrow, or show up and play the piano, however that works. Bring something that you have that we can talk about musically, these musical ideas. Please bring the drummer's nightmare back with you with some dynamics mark, and I just want to kind of lay them out on the top of the piano. Have everybody take a look and see what ideas you came up with and whether they're similar, different, and how you identified those. Okay? Any questions? Awesome. Glad you guys are here. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Sergio, if we could just chat for a minute about lessons.